Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel, welcome back to our web development course. This has been a long time, I guess, because of my health issues. I can't able to keep up, I can't able to shoot lectures properly, but now I'm good, and from now on we'll be getting lectures regularly. From 9th of December we'll get lectures regularly as we did before. That's Jabir Hussain promise. Okay, so anyways, let us come back to our concept. We were talking about JavaScript, and in JavaScript we have talked about different data structures, looping concepts, and using JavaScript we have built a to-do list, and we have did different questions in our four, like JavaScript part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, right? So in this part 5, what we are going to talk about is we are going to talk about what are functions, right? In development journey, believe me when I say that we are going to use functions a lot, right? Whenever we are defining something, or whenever we are like building something in development process, we use functions a lot. We use concepts like arrow functions, general functions as well, and using object literals we build different things. So we will be studying about what are functions in this part 5. In the part 6 we will be talking about what are object literals, and in part 7 we will enter into DOM structure, which is the real part of JavaScript development. Till now we have been studying about JavaScript programming part. After JavaScript part 7 or part 8, I don't know exactly, but in between this we will enter into DOM structure, document manipulation. In that we will enter into actual JavaScript development part. Till now we have been dealing with JavaScript programming part. Okay, anyways, let us begin with our part 5, which are functions in JavaScript. So if you are new to programming, I'm sure like you have watched my Java series, but if you are new to programming, let me tell you, function is a block of code which is returned once. In our old program we write a function only once, and what we will do is that for this block of code we will use this block of code again and again. Whenever we need to perform certain operations, then what we will do is that we will basically call this function, and by calling this function we will perform all the operations. So for example, let's say that in my program I need to calculate Fibonacci series. If you don't know Fibonacci series, then search it on Google, you will understand what is Fibonacci series. Now let us consider that I am building application in which I need to calculate Fibonacci series for 100 times. Now the logical thing, like if I ask you that in your code, are you going to write the program of Fibonacci series 100 times? No. What we will do is that we will create a block of code that will calculate the Fibonacci series, and in the program I will call my Fibonacci function how many times I want. Let's say that I want to call the function for 100 times, then basically I will write the line. If you are new, then this might be a little bit confusing, but believe me, give me 2-3 minutes. In 2-3 minutes everything will be clear. You will understand how to declare function, you will understand how function works in JavaScript. Okay, right now you need to keep in mind that functions are a block of code which are reusable part of code which are used to perform certain operations. Okay, and if I want to give you a real-time example, the perfect example I can think of is remote and TV, right? For example, let's say that in TV you want to change channel. You are watching some channel, now you want to go into another channel. So what you will do is that in remote you will press the button. Okay, you'll just press the button, and by just pressing the button you can see that channel has changed. What is happening inside the remote is that in the remote every button has its own logic, and that logic is only defined once. But what we are doing as a user, what we are doing is that we are basically calling that logic by pressing it, and the logic is getting executed. Whatever the code which is there in that button, that code is getting executed. Okay, so in our TV remote you can consider that each button as a block of code. Each button has a block of logic or block of code, and that logic is defined once. And whenever we want to implement, whenever we want to execute that logic, then what we are doing is that we are just basically pressing nothing but we are calling that logic. This thing is known as functions. This is why we use functions in our programming world. Okay, now how we gonna define functions in JavaScript? So to write functions in JavaScript, there is a inbuilt syntax. There is a definite syntax which we have to follow, and the syntax is, first of all, we will write function keyword. Function is a keyword which is used to implement, to write functions in JavaScript. First of all, we will write function. After that, we have to give the name of our function. Let's say that I'm calculating or I'm printing hello world, then I can give my function name as hello. Here you can see that I have shown you an example that I have written function and my function name is hello, and after writing the function name, I need to give parentheses. These are my parentheses. After parentheses, I need to give my curly brackets, right? Curly brackets, and this will tell you that opening curly braces will tell you, okay, function has started here, and closing curly brace will tell you that function, this particular function, this particular block of code has ended here. Now in between this curly brackets, I will write all my code, whatever the logic, whatever the things I want to execute, whatever the operations I want to perform, I will write that inside the body of the function, right? So this is known as body of my function. Okay, now in functions there are three parts, or you can say three components, very important, and you need to remember this. That are, first one is function declaration, second one is function definition, and the third one is function calling. Okay, so the first part is function declaration, second one is function definition, and the third one is function calling. So what is function declaration is that, first of all, you are writing that keyword, right? Function of that function name. This thing, this whole thing is known as function declaration, and whatever the things you are writing, whatever the logic you are implementing inside the function, that thing is known as function definition. Okay, now I want to press the button, I want to call my function. So in the program, what I will do is that I will call my function name, and by writing this I can perform function calling. Okay, I hope you have understood. Now if you didn't, then let us go to VS Code and let us try to build our own function. So I will go to VS Code, and in the VS Code I have my index.html file and index.js file. Okay, got it. Now in this program, what I will do is that I will write a function which will print hello world and it will print my name. So here I will write function. After that I need to give my name of the function. Let's say hello is the name of the function, hello, and curly braces. Now what I'm gonna do is that I will write console.log, and in this I will write hello world. After that console.log, okay, my name is Jabir Hussain. Okay, I have basically I have printed these two lines. Now there is function declaration, there is function definition. Now to implement, to execute this logic in our program, we have to call our function. So in the program, what I will do is that I will just write hello, and by just writing the name of the function with parentheses, the function will get automatically called, and whatever the logic there is inside the function, that will get executed. Okay, now I will run this website. Okay, I have run this website. Now if I click on inspect and go to the console, in the console you can see that I got the output. Let me reload this file. Okay, you can see that hello world, my name is Jabir Hussain. This is the output I am getting. Okay, I hope you have understood how the function works, how we write functions in our program. Now for example, let's say that I'm not calling in the index.js, I'm commenting this, I'm removing this, I'm not calling my function. Now let us see what will happen. You can see that I'm not getting any output here. Why is that? Because if you want to execute a particular function, then you have to call it. By calling it, by pressing the button, you can change the channel. Without pressing, you cannot change the channel, right? This is how it will work. It works basically. Okay, now inside the program I can write as many things as I want, but for now let me call the function. Yep. Now let me save and go to the output. You can see that, hello world, my name is Jabir Hussain. This is how function will work. Let us do a teeny tiny interesting simple question, which is creating a function that prints a poem. Okay, creating a function that prints are basically a simple poem. I don't know like how we write poems, all this kind of things, but yeah, what we will do in this question is, first of all we will give declare and definition of our function. After it we will basically call, and by calling poem function we can print whatever the things which is there inside my program. Okay, now let us do this. So what I will do is that I will remove this. Now I will write a function. Let me zoom this. Okay, function, and my function name is poem. Okay, poem. In this I will write console.log. I might write some spelling mistakes, so forgive me. Twinkle twinkle little star console. This is basically, we are like doing this to understand functions a little better, and I want you guys to do it along with me, because if you spend time with me now, if you spend time doing all these questions, understanding the concepts, then you will understand the things in a very clear manner. Okay, so I will write console.log, and here I will write how I wonder what you are. Okay, got it. Now what I have to do is that I need to call my function, so I will write poem, and that's all. Let me save it and go to the console. You can see twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. So this is the first question we did, and I think there is a second question as well. So in the second question we need to write a function which rolls a dice, and whatever the output of the dice we are getting, I need to print it in the console screen. So how we gonna do it? I will create a function. Function dice. Okay, in this what I will do is that, first of all I need to calculate what, when I roll the dice I will get output from 1 to 6, right? So what I'm gonna use here is math function. You might like we haven't talked about math function till now. In the next chapter, when we talk about object retrievals, I will tell you what is math function, and using math function now we can calculate sine value, cosine value, different mathematical like all the operations we can perform using math operation. Let me show it to you. There is a function, there is a inbuilt JavaScript function which is used to calculate different math operations. So here I will write math. Okay, and when I click enter, you will see that there is different things, like there is a function to calculate tan value, sine value, sine I don't know, hyperbolic sine, yeah, exponent of a value, cos, minimum, power, like all this function. We will talk about them in the next chapter, but for now you need to understand that in JavaScript we have a math function which is used to calculate different math things, right? Whatever the mathematical operations you want to perform, you use this math function. So let me clear the screen. Okay, now in the program I will write a variable let answer is equals to, let's say math.random into 6. Okay, this might be a little bit confusing, but bear it with me. Okay, plus 1. So what I am doing is that math.random will give me values from 0 to 1. Okay, but I need values from 1 to 6. So what I am doing is I am multiplying this value with 6, And why I'm adding 1? Because this math.random into 6 will give me values from 1 to 5, and I need values from 1 to 6. That is why I'm adding 1. And math.random function will give me values in decimal values, but I don't need decimal. So to remove decimal, we use another function which is floor function. So I will write math.floor, and that's all. Here I will give curly brace. Yep, this is the thing we are doing here. Okay. Anyways, I will basically give here, and yeah. Now after calculating my randomly generated value, what I will do is that I will print my answer. So console.log, here I will give ans answer. Okay, here I will call my dice function. So let me tell you what I'm doing. This might be a little bit confusing, but I don't want to make you guys confused. Okay, so math.floor function, let's say that there is a decimal number. There is a number, for example 1.25. okay, so when I use math.floor now, it will remove the decimal value. Okay, it will give me only 1.25 will be changed to 1. Okay, so first thing is math.floor is used to remove decimal. Okay, now math.random is used to generate numbers between 0 to 1, and 1 is not exclusive. Okay, 1 is not inclusive, it is exclusive. It means that 1 will not be there. Math.random function is used to generate values from 0 to values less than 1. This is like perfect articulation. And I am multiplying with 6 because I want values from 1 to 6, and because I will get values from 1 to 5, I am adding 1. That's all. I hope you are clear. Now in the main program I am calling dice, and let me go to the output and I will refresh it. You can see that I got the output as 5. Now when I refresh it, I will get the output as 3, and again refresh it, refresh. You can see that my output will never exceed 6. Okay, anyways, I hope you have understood. Now let us move to the next concept. The next concept is arguments. Okay, arguments. So arguments are nothing but the values which we pass to the function. You know, they are some functions which require some input. They are some functions which don't require any input. For example, you might have seen that when I give math.random now, in the parenthesis I'm not giving anything, because math.random is a function which doesn't need any input. Okay, but when I give math.floor, in the parenthesis I am passing something, right? And it is a sort of function which requires input. And in programming world, whenever we pass an input to a function, we call it as an argument. I hope you are clear. Okay, now how we pass argument, how we give input to a function is, let's say I am writing function to calculate sum of two numbers. So I will write function keyword, after it sum, and in the sum in the parenthesis I need to pass my variables. Here I will pass my a and b, and inside that I will print console.log a plus b, and this will print my sum of two values. And this thing is known, this argument is basically known as input of my function, and without this I cannot calculate the sum. I hope you have understood. Similarly, in math.floor function, I need to pass a input. I need to tell my computer, my program, that for this decimal, let's say that my decimal is 1.25. So here I need to pass 1.25 value, and what this will do is that it will make it to 1. Without input, my function will give me a error. I hope you have understood here. Okay, so let us try how we can give input. So in this I will write a function sum. sum of two numbers, and here I need to give two input parameters. So here I will give a comma b, and after it I need to print console.log a plus b. Basically I am calculating the sum. Now what I will do is that I will call my function sum. Okay, got it. Now if I call my function without giving parameters, without giving input, then what will happen is that I will throw a error. Let us see. Here you can see that I am getting the output as none because I am not giving any input values. Now if I give input values now, for example in the sum I am giving 10, 20, then sum of these two would be 30. So let me save and go to the output. You can see that I got the output as 30. Now what will happen? I have a question for you guys. Here I am passing two inputs. Okay, I am passing one input and I am passing another input. Okay, now my question is, what will happen if I pass only one input? Let us see what will happen. So here I am only passing 10. Now let me save and go to the document. You can see that I am getting the output as nan, not a number. Why I am getting this? The question is why I am getting this? Because here let me demonstrate to you. Instead of printing sum, let me print console.log. I will print a value. After console.log I will print b value. Okay, now here in the sum value I am giving only sum, and within the sum function parenthesis I am giving one input. Now if I print the values of a and b, then what would be the values? You know, I am passing a value as 10 and I am not giving any value to b. Then what will be the output of b? Let us see. Here you can see that the value of a is 10, the value of b is undefined. So it is not throwing an error. It is basically telling us that the value of b is still undefined, and if you add an undefined value with a definite number, then the output will get, we don't know what the output is. That is why I am getting nan as the output. I hope you have understood. And one more thing is that JavaScript don't recognize what parameter you are passing. Here in the place, till now I have been passing numbers, right? Now in the place of a, if I pass a string, let's say Jabir comma Batman. Okay, I am passing this. So JavaScript will not give me error. JavaScript consider the input as strings. Previously JavaScript was considering the input as numbers. Now we will consider the input parameters as strings. Simple. I hope you have understood. Okay, so here you can see that I am getting the output Jabir Batman. Like this the output will work. Okay, now one more thing I need to mention here is the order. You know, JavaScript follows a definite order while giving the parameters. What I mean by that? Here for example, let's say that I want to give the parameter value to b, not to a. So what I will do is that I will leave the first input as blank and I will give the second input like by giving comma, and I will give the second input. Now let me save and go to the document. Here let me save and go to the document. You can see that I am getting the first value as Batman and the second value is undefined. So what is happening here is that whatever the value I am giving first, that is automatically getting assigned with a, and whatever the value I am giving second, that is automatically getting assigned with b. Okay, like this we will use function arguments. I hope you have understood how input work and what is the order of input. In this question we need to create a function which will calculate the average of three numbers. So here I need to pass three input parameters, and after passing the three input parameters I will calculate the average, and after that I will print it. So let me do it. Okay, in the program I will give function what I can give average, and I will give three values a, b, c. Now I need to calculate the average of these three numbers. So here I will give let average is equals to a plus b plus c divided by 3. Okay, now I will print this average value. So console.log average value is and plus average value. That's all. Now let me save and I will call my average function. So here average, got it, and here I need to pass 3 different values, 10, 20, 30. Okay, now let me save and go to the output. You can see that the average value is 20. Like this we uses input parameters. In the next question, we need to create a function which takes a value n, and for that particular number we need to print a multiplication table from 1 to 10. For example, if user has given me n is equals to 2, okay, if user has given me n is equals to 2, then I need to print the multiplication table of 2. If user has given me n is equals to 3, then I need to print the multiplication of table of 3. Let us see how we will do it. So how we will do it is that, first of all, I will create a function. And let's say table is my function name. In that I will pass n value as my input. Now inside that I will add loops. So I will run a loop for I is equals to 0 and I should be less than n I plus plus. Inside this I will write console.log my n value cross I is equals to, basically I will print n cross I, that's all. So let me go to VS Code. Okay, now I will write the function multiplication or table. I will just write table, let's say n value. Now what I will do is that here I need to run a loop for let I is equals to 0 and I should be less than n and I plus plus. Okay, I should be less than or equals to, here I is equals to 1 and I need to print the tables from 1 to 10, right? So my loop will run for 10 times. I should be less than or equals to 10. Now inside this, what I will do is that I will print console.log and inside that I will write n cross I, that's all. 2 1s are 2, 2 2s are 4, something like that. Okay, now I will print the table of 2. Okay, so here I will give table and n value is 2 and save the document, and here go to this. Here you can see that I got the output as 2 4 6 8, basically table for 2 from 1 to 10. Okay, I hope you have understood how this is working. Now the next concept you are having is return. So we have seen how we can declare a function, basically creation of a function. After that we have seen how we can give input to a function. Okay, now there are 3 parts: input, logic and output. And inside the logic we are basically printing. Now for example, let's say that after completing the function I want to return something. For my user I want to return something. So how I can do it? I can do it using return keyword. So return keyword is used to return some value after the function call. For example, there is a function, let us consider that there is a function which calculates the sum of 2 numbers, the sum of 3 numbers. Now I don't want to print it. I want to return it to my previous function call. For example, how I can tell you bestly. Okay, I will write a function. Function, let's say sum, and here I am passing 2 values a comma b. Inside that I am returning a plus b. Okay, now in the main function what I will be doing is that I will call my function sum 10 comma 20. Now what will happen is that previously we used to directly print the function, like we used to directly print the values here. We were not giving any return statement. But if I want to return something to my user, then what I will do is that I will use return statement. Using return statement I can return some values to my previous function call. So what is my previous function call? Here I am calling my function, so I will basically return this value to my user. Okay, so three parts of function: input, work, basically our logic, and output, and we call the output as a return statement. And you need to remember one thing here, that all functions don't have return statements. It is not mandatory to write like a return statements or to have inputs. You have seen that some inputs, some functions has some return values, some functions don't have any return values. Similarly, some functions has required some input values, and some functions don't need any input values. Okay, let me show you how return will work. In the console I will write, let me clear all this. Okay, I will write let arr is equals to, I am giving Jabir and Batman. Okay, Batman. Okay, now I have created array. Now what I'm gonna do is that I will write arr and I will get these values. Now I want to use slice function. So what slice function will do is that it will give me some values within my array. I need to give some input and I will return the elements in my array. So here I will write arr dot slice, and here I will give 0. That's all. 0 comma, let me give, copy this, and here I will paste it here, arr dot slice, and in the square brackets, I guess in the square brackets I need to give 0 to 1, and yeah, in the I think parenthesis slide 0.1. Yep. Now let us see uncaught expression least after argument. Okay, here I need to give comma, not colon. So here arr dot slice 0 comma 1, and you can see that I will get the output from 0 to 1. 1 is exclusive, 1 is not included. So here I will get the output as Jabir. So what slice function, why I am showing this to you is that I want you to observe that what slice function is doing. Slice function is returning some value to you. Okay, this returning statement, what we call it as output of a function. In this question, what we have to do is that we need to take two string inputs, basically two string inputs as a parameter, and we need to return the concatenation of these two inputs. Okay, so here let's say that here I'm writing a function, function concat, and it will take two inputs a comma b, and whatever the input my user is giving, whatever the strings my user is giving, I need to concatenate those two strings. So basically I will write return a plus b. That's all. Now in the program I need to call my function. So here I will write concat, and I will write Jabir comma Hussein. Okay, Jabir Hussein, and save this. And you know, I have called this function, I have called concatenate, and concatenate has returned me something. Now would I get the output? Like, will I get the output? Let me say it. Yep, I think there is some error, but yeah, you can see that I'm not getting output. Now what I'm gonna do is that I will store this value here, right? I will store let answer is equals to something, and after that I will print the answer. So console.log, and I will write answer. That's all. Now let me save and go to the document. You can see that now I'm getting the output as Jabir Hussein. Like this, we can use return statements to return something as an output to my previous function call. The next interesting concept is block scope, right? There are three types of scopes. First one is blocks functional scope, second one is block scope, third one is lexical scope. So let us begin with our first one, which is function scope. So function scope, here let me change the pen. Yep. So function scope, the meaning of function scope is, let's say that I am writing a function in which I am having three variables. Okay, I am writing a function, and let's say random function is my name, so random function, and inside that I am having a is equals to 10, b is equals to 20, and c is equals to 30. Okay, I'm writing this and I'm printing within the function, I'm printing console.log a plus b plus c. Okay, now I'm not calling in the main program. After completing the function within the program, I am writing again console.log and a. Now my question is, what will happen? Here you can see that this is function opening, function closing. Function has ended here. Now I am trying to access a value which is something a part within the part of a function. This a value is a part of random function. Now outside the function, without even calling, I am trying to access the value of a. What will happen? Let us see. So in the code, I will remove all this for now and I will write a function, let's say random. Okay, random is my function name. Here I am having three variables. Let a is equals to 10, after that let b is equals to 20, and let c is equals to 30. Okay, now I am printing console.log, I am printing the a value. Okay, now after completing the function declaration and definition, I am calling the function. Okay, I am calling the function. Okay, now let me save and go to the output. You can see that I am getting the output as 10 because the value of a is 10. Clear? I hope you are clear. Now what I will do is that I will directly call a value now. Console, without calling the function, I will write console.log a value. Now let me save and go to the function output. You can see that I am getting the output at line 8. I am getting the output. Which is my line 8? This is my line 8. At line 8, what output I am getting? What error I am getting? Uncaught reference error. A is not defined. Why is that? Because there is a concept called as scope, and what scope will tell us, functional scope is tells us is that if you are declaring some variables inside a function, then you can only access those variables within the function. You cannot directly access those variables outside the function. That is why I am getting the error. If I am trying to access a variable which is a part of my function and I am trying to access it outside the function, then I am out of the scope. I'm not within the, I'm not in the scope, and because there is a concept of scope, I will get the error. And you can see clearly here I'm getting the error, a is not defined, because in my old program there is no variable as a, but within the function there is a variable of a. So you can consider that the variables which are inside the function is not a part of the function until and unless you call the function. If you call the function, you might create a relationship, but if you're not calling and trying to directly access those variables, then you will get an error, because it is not in your scope. Those variables are not in your hands. Those variables are in the hands of that particular function only. Okay, this thing is known as functional scope. Similarly, we have another concept called as block scope. Let us see that. Block scope tells that whatever the things you are declaring in curly braces, we study arrow functions, right? So in the arrow functions we use curly braces, and whatever the things you are defining in the curly braces are limited to those curly braces. You cannot access those variables content inside that outside the curly brace. What I mean that here, instead of function, I will remove this and I will give parenthesis. Okay, here remove this. Okay, now in the parenthesis I have shown this three values. Okay, now let me save and go to the document. You can see that I am getting the output as 10. After that I am getting the error. Why is that? Because block scope is very similar to functional scope. Whatever the things you are defining in the parentheses are limited to those parentheses. You cannot access the variables, the content inside it outside the parentheses. This thing is known as block scope. Now the next concept is lexical scope. So this is basically nested function. Let's say that I am creating a function random. Okay, inside that I am having variable a is equals to 10. Okay, now after that again I am defining the function within a function, which is also known as nested function, and I am defining random2, and inside that I am printing console.log a value, and that's all. Now after that again I am calculating I am printing console.log outside the function. So what will happen is that I can able to access this value of a inside this child function. You can consider that random is the parent function. Inside that I am having a child function which is random2, and random2 can access the values, the content of random, because it's a parent and random2 is a child. So a child function can access the values of parent, but a parent cannot access the value of child. This thing you need to remember. This is very important. Okay, now let us see how this will work. I'm removing all this. I will create a function random, and inside that I will write a is equals to 10. After that I will write another function random2. Inside that I will print console.log, and I will print the a value. Now I will call my random function. So I will call my random function. That's all. Now let me see. Okay, now inside this I will call my random2 function, and I will call the parent function here. Now let me save and go to the document. You can see that I am getting the output as 10. Now what is the meaning of lexical scope is that here, for example, I am copying this, and I will print this in the child function, and I will print console.log a value. Now let me save and go to the document. You can see that it is showing error, uncaught a is not defined, because a child can access parent value, but a parent cannot access a child value in functions. This thing is known as lexical scope. Now the next concept we are having is function expressions. So for example, let's say that I am creating a function sum. I am calculating the sum of two numbers a comma b, and I am returning this function let's say a plus b. Okay, now if I store the whole output of this function in an expression, then what we call this whole process is functional expression. Here I will store let answer is equals to this. I am storing the whole function within a variable. This thing is known as function expression. Now I will print console.log and answer value. So let me save and see the output. You can see that I am getting the whole structure of the function. This thing is known as functional expression. So what answer ANS variable will store is that it will store the structure, not the output of the function. Now the last concept we are having is methods. Okay, now we will talk about it in the next chapter. When we study object literals, it will be very clear to you guys what are objects, what are object literals. We will talk about it in another chapter. But methods and functions are same. Basically methods and functions are same, but the difference, one of the key differences between a method and a function is that if you are applying a function to an object, then that thing is known as a method, and if you are generally using functions, then we call it as a general function. Okay, so the difference between a method and a function is we call a function a method if and only if we are dealing or we are applying this function with the object. If we are correlating this function with the object, then what we call this thing as a method, or else will be a general function. So this is the lecture about functions, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment, and I will provide you the lecture notes, resource materials in the comment section. And I apologize for my end, because it has been a long time and I cannot able to find free time for you guys, because I promised to create one of the best lectures on the internet, and I will do my best to provide you the best value I can, right? And I promise to be a regular person. I will try to upload lectures regularly, even though I have tight schedule, I have exams going on, but I will try. So anyways, with that being said, I will see you in the next chapter, and the next chapter is going to be on object literals.